Hey, welcome back to another episode of Love Restore. I am your favorite host, Marshaun, Olaniyan, and this is KCCR Brownstone Cityscapes Radio. Thank you so much for coming back. This, again, is Love Restore, and we are talking about red flags today. So now this is the second dating mistake that you must avoid. The first one that we talked about last week is not knowing or understanding a woman's worth, specifically for Black women. So again, today we're talking about red flags over this next 30 minutes. If you want to work with me outside of Love Restored, then absolutely send me an email at marshaun@marshaunolaniyan.com so we can figure out what that looks like for you so we can get started in the near future. Send me over an email saying, I want to be coached in the subject line. All right. So, but before we jump into red flags and this next dating mistake that you must avoid, let's talk about Love Restored. Love Restored was thought up because just like you, or many of you, I had no idea about dating. I had no idea about what building a foundation in a relationship is, how to go about doing it. I didn't get any sit down talks or instructions on how to create a beautiful, harmonious marriage, how to choose the right partner, not just anybody that's showing me attention, what red flags are and what they look like, and even just the basis, because I actually grew up in a family where I saw relationships all around me. And so there wasn't a lot of toxicity. And although that was great for my upbringing, by the time I left the house, I had no idea on how to cultivate a healthy, loving relationship. Look, what were some of the things that my parents and aunts put into place where I didn't know about arguments, even though, yes, I knew that they argued, they they handled it really well. Let me say that. And that's one of the things that I actually carry into my own life with my daughter. If there is an argument, she does not see it. And I don't mean just with a man, I mean with friends as well. She doesn't see it. She's not privy to it because I don't want that toxicity to now become a generational curse, right? I want her to form her own opinions by me making sure that I am showing up in a way that is just as respectful and understanding that even though me and her father are no longer together, that you don't have to have a toxic exit from marriage, from breakup, from anything if the two of you are mature enough to have conversations. However, of course, I wish I would have never gotten a divorce, but I do understand that that was a part of my story and my coming of age, if you will, and understanding relationships. That's also why I now coach Black women to choose better, to raise their confidence and self-esteem and learn how to speak softer to themselves and what it looks like to actually choose a well-suited mate for themselves and the energy that she's putting out there. And it's just a whole bunch of stuff that I teach and preach and I speak about now, because if I can help you not to experience the same things that I experienced, then I have fulfilled my God-given purpose on this earth. So without further ado, red flags. What are they? And how do we avoid them? Why do we need to avoid this dating relationship, dating mistake in our relationships? So first of all, what is a red flag? A red flag is a warning sign or indicator that something may be wrong or off or even problematic in your relationship. These signs often signal behaviors, attitudes, or even patterns that could lead to emotional, mental, or even physical harm if ignored. Recognizing the red flags early on is essential to protecting one's well being and avoid unhealthy relationship dynamics. Again, if you don't remember my story, this was one of the things that I didn't understand. So I never really have gone into it. So this will be the first time that I've actually said what the red flag was from my marriage. And there were two things that are coming to my mind currently. One was that He was a smoker, and I did not realize that he was a smoker. Later on, I found out that he kept this smoke kit in his glove compartment, and essentially he had breath mints and clothing spray and like sanitizer, just a whole bunch of things. Because when we were dating, he was asking me about some of the things that I didn't like, and I revealed too much. Instead of, I didn't watch enough. I revealed like, I don't like this, and that. But one of them was absolutely smoking. Another one was drugs, but smoking was the biggest thing. And so he hid that he smoked cigarettes. He actually smoked marijuana too, but cigarettes was like a chimney. He smoked like a chimney. But again, he really covered his tracks. And because we were dating, we were not living together, he was able to contain that facade with me, because I was not with him day in and day out. And so just those few hours we were together, he was able to maintain not needing a cigarette and or weed, and he was able to hold us together. And I just never understood it. But the point of now, when it became a red flag is when I knew about it, right? When I recognized it. And so afterwards, he never said that he was going to stop smoking, but I was already so deep into loving him and into the relationship, I didn't realize how much of a pitfall or a hindrance that was going to be for me later on. And even though I knew that I didn't want anybody that smoked, again, I was already so deep into the relationship. So that was one of them, that he hid the smoking from me. And then once he found out that I knew, then I smelt him smelling like a chimney. Okay. Like that whole smoking kit that he told me that he kept in the car disappeared. And then I dealt with the smoking. And the weed came later on, when I found out that he did that. So again, just going deeper and deeper into the relationship, the person can only pretend to be who they are for so long, no matter how long that is. For some people, it's only a few weeks. Some people, it's only a few months. And for others, it is several years. He was in the years part before I understood and before any of these things came out. And then the other red flag that I didn't realize is understanding how people not getting the help that they need before getting into a relationship. And so specifically, people that have been abused in their family, and how it bleeds over into the marriage if those things have not been forgiven or talked out, worked out, etc., with a professional. Once I figured out that the abuse was around, I took a faster U-turn than I did when it came to the smoking, because it was a huge disconnect in our marriage when the abuse was coming to the forefront more often than not. Because even though he didn't physically hit me, he was absolutely an emotional abuser, where he would use stonewalling, which is basically the silent treatment. They're pretty much the same. And he would go silent for months. And I wish I could say it was just days. No, he would go silent for months. And so over a period of time, it was just like disconnect. Oh, another month, disconnect. Oh, another month, disconnect. And I was just like, what is happening? So, and again, when we were dating, the stonewalling, the silent treatment never showed up. And we dated for years. And after we got married, he started with the silent treatment whenever essentially I got on his nerves or there was an argument or whatever. But again, it wasn't like, let's have the silent treatment for a few moments so I can think. It was like, I'm going to punish you by not speaking to you, by acting as if you're not here. And so, you get tired of not being seen, not being heard, not trying to figure out a solution. And this is why red flags, and recognizing them early on as much as possible, because some of them you won't, right? You won't be able to recognize them because, again, some people keep on a facade for years. You have to be willing to take yourself back and not just continue on going down the road of destruction because years have come into play. So, with that being said, let's talk about the 7 red flags that Black women ignore. The first one is rationalizing bad behavior. Maybe you're ignoring it or even making excuses for your partner's disrespectful ways or him being manipulative or abusive actions by convincing yourself that it's not a big deal or that it would get better with time. Now, for me, it was the getting better with time, specifically when it came to the smoking, because for me that was bad behavior. Just because, again, that wasn't something that I wanted to sign up for. And then after I was already there for a period of time, this came out, and so it was more of a manipulation later on in the relationship where I my eyes were open, and it was where anything when I would have friends, and especially new friends, he would find something about the friend that he didn't like. But instead of him saying, I don't like that friend, don't be that person's friend, it was more of a slow build of, I don't like this friend. Why this friend do this? And then I would slowly pull back from the friend because I'm like, oh, okay, well, my man don't like it. We're like, what's happening? Whatever. And so it was more of a manipulation where we were in a city where I didn't have any family, and then now you're breaking me away from my building friendships. And so it was more manipulative in that way, where he was putting me more in an isolation state. So don't rationalize the bad behavior when it comes to the forefront. The second thing that the second red flag that Black women ignore is prioritizing potential over reality. We'll say, I just seen his potential. He's got so much potential. He may have a lot of potential, but until he puts action into play, that potential will never be realized, which leads you to focusing on a partner that could become somebody that you're acknowledging who they are in the future versus who they are right now. And this often leads to overlooking harmful behaviors and the hope that they will change. And don't get it twisted. Sometimes they do change, but a lot of times it's after many, many years of you going through a whole lot of unnecessary drama and hurt and pain. And he may just not have been the one for you in that time that you met him, and should have given him more time to grow, but grow on his own, not grow with you, because a lot of times it's not growth together anyway. It's more staying stagnant once the drama and arguments and everything come to the surface, because one or both of you don't have the tools in order to calm the situation down and be able to converse like adults. So prioritizing the potential over who he truly is. Like, he might have a whole bunch of ideas about how to make your lives better, but he never does anything with his ideas. So it's literally just an idea. And if we do nothing with our ideas, again, it can't be that thing that he's talking about that he can do for you, for the family, will never be, it will never come into fruition. The third red flag that we ignore is ignoring our intuition. Sometimes we call it our gut feeling. And did you know, this is something that I just found out, and I don't remember all the science behind it, but I will say that, did you know a lot of times when we say that our guts, I just got this gut feeling, I can't put my finger on it, I don't really know. It's because your gut can absolutely tell you that something is wrong. Now, they actually call the gut the second brain, because the gut is made from the same cells as your brain. And so, what scientists thought, which was that the brain was sending information to the gut, is actually the other way around. Your gut, that intuition, something ain't right. I don't know what it is, but something ain't right. Actually, you feel that. It literally is a feeling. You feel that before your brain catches up to it. So your gut actually sends information to your brain to say, okay, you right, something ain't right. Now let's figure out what this ain't right is. So I just thought that that was really interesting, that that gut feeling really is true. Your gut and your brain are made from the same cells, and then there are some um, connective portions in between there that I just no reason to go into that. Just understand that when you ignore your intuition, that absolutely is a red flag for yourself, because you're dismissing your gut feeling that something isn't right. And it's often due to the fear of being alone or the hope that things will improve if you stay committed. And a lot of times it just doesn't work that way. Now, some people, some partners wake up and they have an epiphany. And unfortunately, though, it's usually when something happens, when it's something serious happens, like a car accident or something near death, then there's a wake up call. But still, not many people um, revert back into doing the better thing that they should for their partner or their wife. Some people continue to go down that road, and they never understand or connect the two to say, I had a near death accident or experience. Let me do a 180. They continue on down that path. And so again, when there's something that you feel is not right with your within yourself, because it's your feeling, pay attention to that. Don't just push that off to the side and think that I don't want to be alone. I've given this person so many years of my life. I don't want to start all over. I've been committed. This is going to be better. It's not, most of the time it just doesn't happen. Don't ignore your gut, because as soon as you do, your world is going to be turned upside down until you stop ignoring your intuition. The fourth thing is confusing chemistry with compatibility, or mistaking the intense physical attraction or emotional connection for a healthy relationship, while you're ignoring the signs that the relationship lacks the fundamental compatibility. Chemistry is there for a lot of people, but if your compatibility is not matching up, and the only thing you see in that moment is your chemistry, you're gonna be in a world of trouble. Stop ignoring the compatibility. Ask more questions, so you, in your time apart, when you are recharging, when your endorphins are settling down, you can make sound, healthy decisions for yourself. Which is why I also teach my clients, for the first couple of dates, you do not need to be in their space, in their face, hours upon hours upon hours, 2 hours max, and get out of there. Because you need to understand, when in your time of reflection, how did I feel during this date? Am I going to give him another opportunity to take me out again? What are some of the questions that I ask? Because I'm making sure that I'm being very intentional with how I'm dating this time. Does his answers match up to the lifestyle that I want to create for myself and for my children, if you have them, or future children? Don't just go along with the chemistry for the moment. Ask the deeper questions and then reflect on them later. The fifth red flag that some Black women ignore is over investing in the relationship, showing up as the wife when you haven't even got the title as the girlfriend, where you're pouring too much time, energy, and resources into a situationship. It's not even a well-defined relationship, which can make it harder to walk away from the red flags when you see them, because you have given yourself the title of his girlfriend or his future spouse when he has not given you the title. Don't over invest in a relationship because you want a relationship, and you want a relationship with him. Make sure that that him is the right him for you. So you're not going on an emotional roller coaster years later, or even months later, after you have now over invested in this relationship, where you are constantly buying things or constantly setting up the next trip with this person, again, as a person without a title. Girlfriend, okay, but that still can feel like, how long have you been a girlfriend, right? But especially to those of you who do not have the girlfriend title, and you're over investing in the relationship, and you're giving all your time, energy, and effort, and every time he calls, you're there, and every time he needs you, you're available. It's just too much. It's too much. That's a different. What I was about to say is different. So I'm gonna move forward. The sixth red flag is avoiding the difficult conversations. Maybe you're shying away from discussing concerns or uncomfortable topics for the fear of conflict, or the fear of that he's no longer going to want you, or the fear of literally he's going to ghost you after this, thereby allowing the red flags to persist unaddressed. You must be willing to step into the difficult, uncomfortable conversations and situations, because this is when you really understand who a person is. If you have not seen this person angry, ticked off, mad at you, you need to see all of that before you get into a relationship with him. And if you're in a relationship with them and you don't like the way any of that feels when conflict comes up, and the way that he handles himself, or the way that even you handle yourself, I can tell you right now, avoiding the difficult conversations is only going to add to the resentment that is going to continue to build, and the connection is going to continue to deteriorate. You're going to still feel like you're unheard, not seen, disrespected, not honored. All of those things are going to come into play. You must have and face the difficult conversations as soon as possible, as soon as possible, because this is where you're going to see the growth in yourself if you've already been doing some work on yourself, but then also how he handles himself when you bring something that you don't like to the table. The seventh red flag that Black women ignore is minimizing your own needs, where you're always putting other people's needs, including but not limited to your partners, before your own, often neglecting self-respect and even the boundaries that you set for yourself, which can lead to overlooking or accepting problematic behavior. That's not what we're doing. We're up leveling our life. We're understanding. Remember, last week we talked about a woman's worth and knowing what your worth is. You have to understand what your needs are and put them out there. And then realizing, if he's not willing to give you the things that you're asking for, that you say that you need out of being in a relationship with you, he's not the one for you. So stop wasting your time, your energy, your effort. Stop over investing into a situationship and you don't have a title. Prioritize your own self before his. Recognizing this as bad behavior for the relationship, for the sustainability of the relationship. The relationship cannot and will not sustain off of red flags. There needs to be more green flags, which is the beautiful part of him and of the relationship, versus the red flags. So now that we talked about the 7 red flags that most Black women ignore, let's talk about some of the ways where we could recognize the red flags sooner. So one of the things is, I'm just going to repeat this, is instead of ignoring your gut or your intuition, trust your intuition, where you pay close attention to your gut feelings. If something feels off, it likely is. And don't dismiss those internal alarms just to maintain a situationship or a relationship that's really not working out for yourself, let alone the relationship overall. But focus on actions over words. I say this all the time with my clients. Does his actions match up to what's been coming out of his mouth? Watch for his patterns in behavior. He says he's going to call. Does he actually call at the time or around the time that he gave you? If he said he's going to be home at a certain time, is he there? Did he say that he was going to check in with you? Did he check in with you? Like, is his patterns of behavior matching up to the words that's coming out of his mouth? And especially pay attention to how he handles conflict, setting his own boundaries and enforcing his own boundaries, listening to what your boundaries are and respecting your boundaries, and even respecting others and everyday situations out there. Another thing is where you can set and uphold your boundaries early. I talked about boundaries a lot, where you have to clearly define your boundaries at the beginning of the relationship and then observe how your partner responds to them. Because a healthy partner will respect them, while a red flag may push against them. You want somebody that respects you, where he's already healthy and understands because he sets boundaries himself, that he's willing to adhere to your boundaries that you have set because he wants to honor you. I have this client where she was telling me this very thing and how she's working on her trust issues with men specifically, based off of her past. And she told this to the potential guy that she's been dating, and he essentially was checking in with her to say that he X, Y, and Z did something that they were talking about, and he essentially told her that there has been a woman that's been in his life for plenty of years, but she never got the title, and he's actually breaking it off with her so he can be more serious with my client. And she was wondering, like, why did he tell me that? Like, what is the big deal? Because at this stage, he doesn't owe her anything. And he was telling her, well, I know that trust is really big for you. And if I want this to go any further, then I have to be really open and honest with what's been going on. I've been dating this woman. And again, he told her all the stuff that I mentioned earlier. And she was like, I felt really good. I felt really safe. I felt really heard. I felt really seen. And that made him get pushed up on her paying attention sort of priority list. Maybe he is being serious about me. Maybe he is a good candidate. So all of these things were going through her head, but understanding that, okay, he heard me when I said I have trust issues. I'm working through them, but he really heard me. And he knows that if he wants this to continue on, then he has to show up a certain way. I shouldn't have to pull these things out of him to make him trustworthy to me. He should want to do them. And that's something that you should pay attention to as well. The guy that you're dating should want to please you. He should want to make you happy. He should want to make you feel comfortable. Whether he has to do it or not is irrelevant. He should want to do it and not feel like he's on a choker. And back in the day, they used to say henpecked and all this other stuff. Just he should want to do it for you because he's making you a priority in his life. The last and final thing that I will say is take your time. So many of us want to be in relationships so bad that we're willing to put up with so many red flags and bad behavior just to say that we have a piece of a man in order, waiting, and instead of waiting for the man that has the best interests as well as a better candidate for yourself, because you're sick and tired of waiting. You're sick and tired of not dating anyone. But when we do this, we really set ourselves up for failure. So avoid rushing into anything emotional or physical when it comes to your new partner. Take the time to really get to know the person, allowing yourself to see their true character over time. Anytime we bring any specifically physical sex into an early stage relationship, the rose colored glasses stay on longer. The red flags we either ignore or we just literally cannot see them because we're too close to it. The longer that you can hold off from sex, the better. And the less emotionally connected you are with this person. And you can really make better, clearer decisions about your life, about the relationship, and about if you want this person to be a part of your life long term. This is Marshaun Olaniyan, and this is Love Restored. You're listening to KCCR Brownstone Cityscapes. Thank you so much for being here for these past 30 minutes. It really does mean the world to me. If you have yet to share this episode or the previous episode with your friends and family member that you know that can benefit from it, then go ahead and do so. If you have yet to join the Brownstone community by being a part of the magazine and getting your monthly issue, we have digital as well as print copies. Go ahead and sign up for that to be a part of the community in that way to get more information, not only from myself, because I do have an article in there every month, not only from myself, but also from other personalities here at KCCR Brownstone. I love you guys, and there's nothing that you can do about it. Again, if you want to work with me outside of Love Restore and get some coaching with me, email me at marshaun@marshaunolaniyan.com and in the subject line put, I want to be coached.